It feels like the best investors have the ability to see things that nobody else can see and find stocks in places that nobody is taking a look at. No, I don't think we need microscopic vision or anything like that, but I do want to give you what I think are the most interesting stocks out there today. Let's go ahead and break it down. Let's talk about what interesting means. I mean companies that A, are doing quite well right now, have momentum, and are doing well for reasons that I don't think enough people are talking about and are flying relatively under the radar. The first one though, I should be ringing a few bells, and I would say is quite interesting given the news in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 days. This is Coinbase. Now, Coinbase is up 42% in the last 6 months and up 79% in the last year. Now, those numbers alone are interesting to me. Okay, but aside from that, here's what you need to know about Coinbase. The first one is this, and this is something we've been saying about Coinbase since its IPO. It goes where crypto goes, and there's a storm happening if you hear the thunder in the background. But if crypto does well, Coinbase tends to do well, and vice versa. Last I checked, at the time I'm doing this, I'm actually recording this on the weekend on Saturday, so you know how Bitcoin goes, but Bitcoin was at an all-time high. And here we are with Coinbase today. But also on Friday, which was real interesting, there was the Genius Act that was signed into law, which is a new stablecoin framework. So the US government is moving on crypto legislation, which was a promise that the president said he was going to do. So that is law now. We're not talking about a presidential promise. That is law, which is obviously going to help companies like Coinbase. Now, there are some pros and cons around that law. I would like to do a full breakdown on it. I'm only going to do it if y'all watch it, though, so let me know in the comments. But Coinbase definitely has some momentum in its sales, and obviously it has over the last year. I mean, it's up close to 80%. So that is one that's extremely interesting, and it's fully legitimate. Coinbase isn't a small trying to make it company anymore. And though I have been critical of crypto, I do still own it. I don't know why people think you can't do both, but also crypto is here to stay. It is a thing, okay? We're passing laws. It is slowly moving, and it being added to the S&P 500 is a stamp of legitimacy for a company like Coinbase. So if you don't have it, you definitely want to research more for that company, because for me, it's interesting, and it's getting a whole lot more interesting by the day. Quick time out. I know we've been talking a lot about investing today. However, if you don't know where to start or you haven't started yet, I have a free guide on how you can buy your first stock in just 20 minutes. To get that free guide, check out the link right here. All right, back to the video. Moving on, we have Rockwell Automation. The stock symbol is ROK. Now this one you likely have not heard of. The performance here is 24% gain in the last 6 months and 31% gain over last year. As a bonus, if you will, the dividend is 1.46%. That ain't bad. They're a software company that helps to improve efficiency in different areas, whether it's food, industrials, so on and so forth. If you go and look at their website, I would say it's a word salad in terms of how they do it, but their financials are not. The company has been growing at a pretty steady pace, but here's why I think the company is a lot more interesting than its face value, if you will. That is because right now we're in a weird space. Like, those tariffs are starting to bite, some companies are starting to cut back a bit, and people are looking, one, for value, right? People are looking for, all right, look, where are the stocks at that people aren't talking about? Rockwell could very well be one of those. Where are the stocks that are doing well and pay a dividend? Rockwell falls into that category at paying 1.46%. And companies are looking for places where if we are going to be charged higher tariffs, right, and we need to make as much money as possible, where can I find efficiencies, and what tools, what software can I use to help me to do that? Rockwell is a tool, a company that sells a software that does that for you. So if it tells you, hey, instead of shipping your things from point A to point B, what if you do it in a different way, and it's going to save you X amount of money or avoid tariffs in some way? That is how they do things, and their software might be a lot more important in the next several years, not just months, depending on how long this trade war goes. So they may be a very important player for a lot of these companies out here. It's not a consumer brand, so that's why I think we aren't talking about it. Like, You and I may download a Coinbase. You and I may be buying and subscribing to Netflix, but companies like Netflix, companies like Walmart, or even UPS, they may be buying Rockwell software. Those may be their types of clients. And that is something that we should absolutely be paying attention to. Now we move on to CrowdStrike. And CrowdStrike in some ways relates to Coinbase as well. And I'll get to that in just a second. But CrowdStrike is up 37% in the last 6 months and up 43% over the last year. Now, last I checked, we keep putting more stuff online. The more stuff we put online, the more important it is to keep things secure. So if you don't know, they are a cybersecurity company. I like to keep at least one or two of these stocks in my back pocket because, again, they tend to do well, and it is important to keep these things safe. Now, first off, their subscribers, right, their main customer base, they sell a software that companies subscribe to on an annual basis, is up 26%. Everybody is realizing, hey, I need more subscribers. So that is something that's good. That's something you want to see grow year over year. So that's number one. Number two, this is more of an example than a one-to-one connection, but the Genius Act, the one that was passed, can allow companies, a bunch of other companies, just to create their own stable coin. Well, let's say that instead of gift cards, Starbucks creates a new Starbucks coin, and they are truly a bank versus just a company that just gives out gift cards or allows people to get gift cards. Who's going to need a lot tighter cybersecurity now? CrowdStrike. That gives CrowdStrike a much bigger pool to play from or play in versus what they would have before, where yes, they do have customer data, but not to the extent where they would, right? Protecting the app info is one thing, and people's orders for coffee. Protecting people's data for a stable currency and crypto is completely different, because now you have Starbucks coin and Bitcoin because McDonald's has a stable coin, so on and so forth. Okay, so just an example of where things can go because a whole separate bill passed on what doors that could open down the line. So that's me projecting, but again, that's why it makes it interesting for what CrowdStrike could do and where their market could go. Again, I'm looking around the corner, right? I'm looking into the future on what things could be for CrowdStrike. But even just in the recent past, right? Last 6 months, last year, CrowdStrike has done quite well. And I don't see the world turning backwards, right, in terms of technology or the threat of cybersecurity being lessened, right, as we move forward. Now, in this video, we only covered just 3 stocks. You are likely going to need a few more, or you might decide to get an ETF, an exchange traded fund, which has dozens of stocks packaged together, which makes it a lot easier for you to invest in. If you want to know what those stocks are or what some of the best ETFs are, and you want to add those to your portfolio, you want to check out this video right here.